Hey there everybody, Adam Cleary from FourFourTwo here, and Aston Villa, you may have heard, have just bought Moussa Diaby. And not to sort of give away too much about how I feel about this signing, but if I am an Aston Villa fan and my club has just signed Moussa Diaby, I'm doing this. And that is because not only is he such a good fit for what Unai Emery is trying to do with this Villa side, but just in general, he is so I'm actually quite looking forward to this video because it's a nice combination of, ooh, look how good your team is and how they play, and then, ooh, look how good this player is and how he fits in this team. But there is, I should warn you, there is a dessert course after that, which isn't particularly nice, but it's only a little bit. Like, it's one tiny, tiny little cup of just like, oh, really? Right, so, your primer. Unai Emery has very, very, very strict footballing philosophies. They have served him so well throughout his time. He's got like, let me just check in my head, 86 Europa Leagues to his name because of them, and he's been really good at implementing them at Villa. And that philosophy is how you manage space. Now, all football is at times is basically how you manage space, where you choose to find it, where you choose to close it down, but Emery's very, 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 very good with it. In fact, I'm going to need the lesser spotted other team for this. Alright, there you are, 2 banks of 4, which regardless of formations and whatnot, you still do see quite a lot. Now, the way you make chances is you make space, and some teams, like Man City, like to make space within the players to sort of play through them. Like, you see teams do this all the time, that they'll keep their wide players really, really wide, which sort of forces the defense to stretch a bit, and that makes loads more room in the middle for you to play through and to make stuff happen. But Emery ain't this guy. This is the last thing he tries to do. He does not want to create space within the other team. He wants to create space around it. And the way he does that is by being very deep, by being very narrow, and most importantly, being very patient before you sort of go. What he's trying to do is to invite the opposition on, to push them as far up the pitch as they can, to leave loads of space, not only in behind, but on the flanks. If you can compress a team in this way, then when you win the ball back, or even if you've already got the ball because it's your build-up, you can then go in behind, you can then go around the sides, you can hit really fast lightning attacks, and if you're a Villa fan, you saw a load of them last year. Time and time again last season, Villa would win the ball back in this sort of central area, and whether it was Watkins, Buendia, Ramsey, who am I forgetting, Leon Bailey, someone would already be making the run into the yawning chasm left behind the team, and they'd be in on goal. If you're a Villa fan, you saw that, and you did not get bored of it. But also, sometimes you can't do this. Sometimes it's impossible to bait the team to come onto you that strong, because, well, that's Villa's tactic, and teams will train themselves not to do it. So the other very clever way Emery has of doing this is by artificially manufacturing this space. And the way he does that is this quartet of attacking players they're all very flexible, they're all very good at dropping out of their position to see if they can pull the defender with them. Again, Villa fans, how many times last season did you see Ollie Watkins vacate the central area, take a defender with him, and allow someone like Ramsey to steam through instead? So my point, if I haven't hammered it home enough already, is that Emery likes to get in behind. He likes to compress the opposition defense to create room either at the sides or in behind to then just kill them with it. So why, if you're a Villa fan, should you have your pants around your ankles rubbing your thighs at the prospect of Moussa Diaby signing for your club? Well, because I would argue right now in all of European football, there is no attacking player who loves more than to make that exact run in behind. It's not really something you can demonstrate with statistics, like here's his FBref profile, you should just be excited about that anyway. Look at his output, look at his numbers, look just how dangerous it is. That's across the entire of Europe's top 5 leagues, by the way, that's not just the Bundesliga, but little thing called the eye test. Oh, whether it's because Leverkusen have invited the press on and have found him the room to just run into the space behind, or whether he links it with a teammate who's dropped out of the space so he can get into it, the 2 big Villa moves, he does this time and time and time again, and he's so quick and he's so skilled with the ball when running at pace that he was born to do this. And I know there's been some question marks about signing Pau Torres, because while he's excellent, do you really want to replace Mings? It causes a major disruption. You could not be buying a better centre-back in world football in Villa's price range to play in this way. Like, his balls over the top are incredible. His through balls are amazing. You get a Pau Torres to take advantage of having a Diaby. And I know sometimes you can just wind up with these players who are pure speed merchants and that's all they've really got. I need to stress this. Diaby's technical ability at pace and at not pace in terms of his finishing, his passing, all of that is top level. He gets so many goals and assists because he's properly equipped to take advantage of his speed. He can play very comfortably on both sides, by the way, which should be another thing that excites Villa fans. But when you play him on the right, which I think is where he did most of his work for Leverkusen last season, because he's left-footed, he quite likes to sort of just float into the middle, to float into central areas. And again, if you're an Aston Villa team that's very well drilled on moving into space after one of your teammates have left it, that is sort of a natural thing he does, which will work really well for them. So yeah, just to say it for like the 5th time already this video, Unai Emery could not have gone out and shopped for a more appropriate player for his sort of compress, bang, strike. There will be Premier League defenders who will play Villa this year, and after the game, they will have had such a bad time, they will earnestly wonder if they can just call the police. Now, as promised at the start of this meal, delicious starter about Unai Emery's playstyle, and delicious main course about how Moussa Diaby fits that, but it's time for the slightly bitter, possibly spoiled little dessert. What is very key to making this system work from Emery is the ability to turn the ball over when your opponent is nice and compressed in the middle of the pitch. Like, this is the shape they're always trying to get the opposition into. Again, if you're a Villa fan, you'll have seen this so much last season, but it's dependent upon the ability for every player to compete to win the ball. You need to be able to correctly press at the right times and effectively turn it over, so you have to physically be good in the challenge as well as just well disciplined to make this work. Otherwise, you can't get the ball back to set people free. And as a result, these are Jacob Ramsey's defensive stats for playing as an attacking midfielder. And these are Emi Buendia's defensive stats for playing as an attacking midfielder. This is what Emery wants and needs out of his forward line, and this is the same stats for Diaby. If you're sitting there watching this and you made any noise other than, ooh, you have not understood. Now, full disclosure, Leon Bailey's numbers are about that bad for defensive contribution as well, but that might be precisely why you go out and get Diaby, because if you're going to have somebody who's not going to contribute that way and you've effectively got to do the work for, you need to contribute loads and loads of goals and assists. You need to be the player who's constantly getting released to make things happen. And Bailey, I think I'm right in saying his last goal for Villa was like at the start of the year, Leeds in January, unless I've forgotten one. So you can have one of those players in there, but they need to do a lot more. But what? Here's the thing, Governor, right? Unai Emery, he's worked with Diaby before, and I'm sure he's been well scouted, so this won't be coming as a shock to him. He's very well aware of what he can contribute going forward, but also very well aware of where his game is lacking defensively. So, if they've gone and got him anyway, if they've spent that much money on him, it can only be because Emery thinks either it's not a problem, or he can fix it. And as a closing thought, right, which I'm going to make as a Newcastle United fan, Villa, Newcastle and Brighton all really gave the big teams a bit of a scare last season, a bit of a bloody nose. They took a Champions League place off them, they took a Conference League place off them, they took a Europa League place off them. That's not supposed to happen. And it is absolutely part of the reason why you've seen all the quote-unquote big clubs spending enormous sums of money this year to make sure this doesn't happen again. But Villa, just like Newcastle and Brighton, will want it to happen again. And next season, when other teams are a bit more defensive against them, when teams are a bit more afraid of them, they're going to need better players, elite level players, who can break that stuff down. And the only way those three clubs can buy those players if they shop in a slightly different aisle. Not the 80 to 100 million pound guaranteed success best player in the world aisle, but the has some of the traits of the best players in the world aisle, but also has some major drawbacks that stop transfers to these big clubs. And that's Diaby. He has the attacking output and the ability of someone who could play for any team in the world, but his defensive work is lacking that no big manager would probably want to take a risk on him. Like, look at how Newcastle managed to get Sven Botman last year. He looks like one of the best centre-backs in the world, but none of the big clubs would touch him because there was concerns over his pace. What Villa have to do, and it's how they've got Pau Torres, it's how they've got Bailey, it's kind of how they've got Tielemans, is go, right, okay, we're going to buy you for your upside, and we're going to work really hard to make sure the downside isn't a problem. We are going to gamble. And that's ultimately what Diaby is. He's an exciting, thrilling gamble. Because if that works, if that clicks, if that comes off, you've got loads of goals and you've got loads of assists and you've got loads of great moments he's going to have for Villa next season. But if it doesn't, he probably might start to break down what's really good about the system. And that's a challenge for Emery. But I mean, let's just like your opinion, man. And yeah, it is, so let me hear yours in the comments below, please. And if you've enjoyed this video, or even if you haven't and you just want to do something nice for somebody, why not subscribe to 442 here on YouTube? We do this all the time. In the meantime, though, thank you very much for watching. Get me on Twitter at Adam Cleary, CLERY. The brand new 442, the season preview issue. I will be talking about this all week. It is my favorite thing we do all year. Mwah, in stores now. Go and treat yourself. But until next time, this has been 442. Ooh, Diaby. Ooh, very exciting. I'll see you soon.